You wake up in the dark. You cannot move. You try to scream, but nothing comes out. At the edge of the room, something is watching you. For centuries, people called this a demon. But modern science calls it something else: sleep paralysis. And that is where the mystery begins. Because the history of demons is not just the story of evil spirits, it is the story of fear, disease, religion, power, and the human need to give a face to the darkness. But here is the strange part. The original demons were not evil. The word demon comes from the Greek word daimon, but in ancient Greek thought, a daimon was not automatically a monster. It could mean a spirit, a force, a guide, something between humans and the gods. In some traditions, a daimon was a kind of invisible influence, not purely good, not purely evil, more like a presence that could guide, warn, inspire, or disturb. This is very different from the modern image of demons. No horns, no burning eyes, no hooves, no red skin. The ancient daimon was not the creature painted on church walls. It was closer to a mystery, a hidden intelligence, something unseen that could shape a person's fate. Over time, that neutral idea changed, and as cultures collided, translated, and fought for spiritual authority, the meaning grew darker. The guide became the tempter, the spirit became the enemy, the unknown became evil. Long before medieval demonology, ancient civilizations already feared invisible beings. In Mesopotamia, people believed that certain spirits could bring illness, nightmares, and disaster. One of the most famous was Pazuzu. Pazuzu was a frightening figure. He was associated with wind, disease, and danger. But like many ancient spirits, his role was complicated. He was feared, but he was also sometimes invoked for protection against other harmful forces. This is important. Ancient supernatural beings were not always simple villains. They could be dangerous and protective at the same time. They could represent disease, chaos, famine, storms, or the terrifying unpredictability of life. Before germ theory, before neurology, before psychology, people still needed explanations. Why did a healthy child suddenly become sick? Why did someone collapse and shake uncontrollably? Why did a person hear voices no one else could hear? Why did nightmares feel real? In the ancient world, invisible suffering often required invisible causes, and demons became one answer. As Abrahamic religions developed, the idea of demons became more morally defined. They were no longer just spirits, they became enemies of God, tempters, corruptors, fallen beings. In Christian tradition especially, demons became linked to fallen angels and rebellion against divine order. This gave the demon a new role. Not just a cause of illness, not just a spirit in the dark, but an agent of ultimate evil. The world became a battlefield between good and evil. Angels stood on one side, demons stood on the other, and human beings were caught in the middle. This was powerful storytelling. It explained temptation. It explained suffering. It explained why people did things they could not understand. But it also created fear. Because if evil had intelligence, then every strange event could have intention behind it. A nightmare was not just a nightmare. A seizure was not just a seizure. A voice in the mind was not just a symptom. It could be seen as an attack. When people picture demons today, they often imagine horns, hooves, claws, tails, and animal faces. But that image did not come directly from the Bible. Much of the modern demon look was shaped during the medieval period. Artists and religious writers borrowed features from older pagan gods and nature spirits. Horns, goat legs, animal bodies, wild faces. As Christianity spread across Europe, some older gods and symbols were reinterpreted as evil. What had once been sacred to one culture could become demonic in another. This was not just art, it was a spiritual message. The old powers were being recast as dangerous. The wilderness became suspicious. The body became suspect. The horned god became the devilish beast. By the Middle Ages, demons had become more than invisible spirits. They had a visual language. They looked like everything civilization feared: the animal, the foreign, the uncontrolled, the forbidden. Then came the age of demonology. Medieval and early modern writers began classifying demons almost like a royal court. Names, ranks, duties, signs, abilities, hierarchies. Many of the famous demon names people recognize today do not come mainly from the Bible. They come from grimoires, spellbooks, occult manuals. Texts like the Ars Goetia and the Lesser Key of Solomon. One of the most famous traditions describes King Solomon commanding 72 demons. In these grimoires, demons were listed like powerful spirits with titles: kings, dukes, princes, marquises. Each had a name, a seal, and a supposed area of influence. To modernize, this can look like fantasy world building. But to many people in earlier centuries, these books represented dangerous knowledge. They suggested that the invisible world had structure, that evil had a bureaucracy, that the darkness could be named and maybe even controlled. This was the strange contradiction of demonology. It feared demons, but it also organized them. It warned people about forbidden forces, but it also described how to summon them. And once evil had names and ranks, it became easier to imagine it everywhere. As fear of demons grew, so did fear of the people accused of working with them. During the witch hunt era, accusations of demonic influence could destroy lives. Illness, crop failure, storms, nightmares, and strange behavior could all become evidence in the wrong hands. A neighbor's misfortune could become a charge of witchcraft. A person suffering from mental illness could be treated as possessed. A community under pressure could look for someone to blame. This is one of the darkest parts of demon history, because the fear of invisible evil often produced very visible suffering. People were accused, interrogated, punished, sometimes executed. The demon was not only a religious idea, it became a social force, a way to explain chaos, a way to control behavior, a way to mark certain people as dangerous. And often, the accused were the vulnerable. Today, many experiences once blamed on demons are understood through medicine and psychology. Epilepsy can cause seizures, loss of awareness, strange sensations, and sudden physical convulsions. In the past, these episodes could look terrifying. Without medical understanding, people sometimes interpreted them as possession. Schizophrenia and other mental health conditions can involve hallucinations, delusions, or hearing voices. For someone living centuries ago, these symptoms could seem like evidence of a spirit speaking through a person. Then there is sleep paralysis, a condition where the mind wakes up before the body can move. The person is conscious. They may feel pressure on the chest. They may sense a presence in the room. They may see a shadow, a figure, or something standing nearby. This experience is so vivid that people across cultures have described it as an attack by a supernatural being. A demon, a witch, a ghost, a night hag, a spirit pressing down on the body. But modern sleep science offers another explanation. During dreaming, the body is naturally prevented from acting out movements. Sometimes, that paralysis continues for a few moments after waking. The fear is real. The experience is real. But the demon may be the brain trying to explain terror while trapped between sleep and waking. Here's the part that makes the mystery harder to dismiss. Even when there is a scientific explanation, the experience can still feel supernatural. A person in sleep paralysis is not pretending. A person having hallucinations is not simply making things up. A person in a seizure is not choosing what happens. The terror is real. The body reacts. The mind searches for meaning. This may be why demon stories appear in so many cultures. They give shape to experiences that feel bigger than ordinary life. Pain needs a face. Fear needs a name. The unknown needs a story. And demons are one of humanity's oldest stories. Not because they are scientifically proven physical beings, but because they represent something humans have always struggled with. The feeling that something inside us or around us is not under our control. So what are demons? Historically, they are many things. Ancient spirits, disease bringers, fallen angels, medieval monsters, grimoire kings, Symbols of temptation, explanations for illness, images of fear, psychological shadows. The word began as daimon, a neutral guiding spirit. It passed through religion, art, folklore, and fear. It absorbed pagan imagery. It gained names in medieval spellbooks. It became a weapon in witch hunts. And today, it still appears in bedrooms, nightmares, movies, exorcism stories, and whispered personal experiences. The modern demon is not one single idea. It is a container, a place where cultures put the things they cannot fully explain. Disease, violence, desire, madness, grief, guilt, the stranger in the dark, the voice in the mind, the pressure on the chest at 3 a.m. Maybe demons survive because humans still need them. Not always as literal creatures, but as symbols, warnings, stories, names for the darkness. Science can explain the seizure, psychology can explain the voice, sleep research can explain the shadow at the foot of the bed. But explanation does not always erase fear, because when the room is silent, when your body will not move, and something seems to be standing in the corner, the oldest story in the world wakes up with you, and for a few terrible seconds, it has a name.